Hi, this is Kim Nelson with the Jewelry Design Department at FIT. Continuing with our tutorial on rendering and shading for JD139 ideations. Working in Painter, but the same techniques apply in gouache. We just finished doing the matte sequence. I'll go ahead and move those down out of my way. And commence with the reflective versions. Just my basic fills. Okay, now doing our same process with reflective metal, starting with our shading. Starting with our high dome, or our high cylinder. Okay. A narrower area on the low cylinder. I'm not really worrying about my bottom and top edges. It's very easy for me to clean those in Painter. Obviously, if I'm working in gouache, I'm going to be a little more concerned. Actually, we've never done it in class, but I will do this form as well. And this is going to look pretty similar to what I was doing with the matte finish treatment. Okay? Not a whole lot of difference. The difference comes in how you're going to blend. In reflective metal, we're not going to blend using a soft shading. We're going to blend using accent lines. Basically reflections rolling off. And actually, I made a mistake here I want to talk about. When you have a slow curve, your blending lines are actually more open and spaced. When you have a tight one, they're closer. Something like that. Okay? That's our shading. Okay, going to our light. Okay, this color could be a little bit lighter. Or my base coat could be a little bit darker. I don't have enough contrast between the two. I'm actually going to take out that blended line. I have a really big brush. I need to cut that back a bit. Okay. And blending lines work with the lighter colors as well. In fact, in gouache they work more effectively with the lighter colors. I don't know why the color popped off of there, but it did. Okay, you can see how tight this corner is. It's a very tight reflecting line to reflect it, to indicate that. A little more open, but also rather bright. Here. And here. Okay. I don't want them to get too static looking, or I get a zebra effect, which is the kiss of death. We do not want a zebra effect. Okay. The last step is going to be, well, second to last is my cord. Remember, core shadows always run tight into the light. Okay. And these can also have a blending line. fairly close together because the curvature is pretty tight. So it comes around the top of those. Okay, these are too consistent. So I would actually, rather than do that, because it's going to give that striped effect, I would just come in and make this a little thicker, a little broader. So I have that drama interest. Okay, what signifies this from the next one over is that the core shadow is going to be blended, fall away from the peak. Okay, that's too close. That's better. Okay. On the other one with the crest, core shadow goes right up against the peak. And once again, there could be a blending line, but this is swooping fairly gradually, so it would be a little ways off, like that. A fairly narrow band of core. A heavier band of core. And an accent line towards the edge in both cases. In this case, quite close to the edge. And in this case, a ways off from the edge. Okay, now highlight. I already have a fair number of accent lines going on, or blended reflections, so I'm not going to add any with the highlight until I've finished doing all the regular highlight lines. Then if I decide I think it could use more highlight blending reflections, I'll come back and add them. But these renderings are getting fairly busy. So I'll be a little conservative. Okay, this piece, the reflection is quite broad because this faces right into the light. But you don't want it to come too close to the peak, because if it comes close to the peak, it's going to create a hard crest, and we don't want a hard crest. We want that soft bullet crest. Okay. Here we want the highlight right up in against the crest. Here we want a moderate highlight off to the side. In fact, that's not far enough off to the side. I will move it a little farther off. You want to think where the light's going to hit, and it's going to hit right there. On the high cylinder, it's going to be much more towards the center. And because it's a fast rotating surface, curving surface, it'll be a fairly narrow highlight. This one can be allowed to spread out a little bit by comparison. Okay. Now I'm going to address whether I want to add blending lines or not, and I do. Well, I'd probably add one per form. Here, it'll be quite close to the highlight. Not that close to the highlight. But quite tight in. Here it'll be loose and quite a ways off from the highlight. Okay. Here I'm actually going to diffuse some of this hard line. By bringing in a highlight. And there would be a little bit of a highlight, implied highlight over here as this curves back out. There would also be an edge on this crisp piece of metal. This crisp corner. which we would repeat across the top half up until we hit the crest. Here, I would allow there to be a reflecting or a blending reflection at a moderate distance, and I would catch the full top edge with a highlight. Here, I would give myself a very tight in blending line. Maybe not so tight in. Let's take a look. Yeah, that's nice. And once again, a top rim. But I would only catch it where the light catches it to help accentuate my form. Across the top here. Across the top there. Okay. Now we have reflected light coming into these forms. Reflected light is going to be our light shade. We would get a little bit here. We would get none really here. We have nothing here. Pretty close along the edge here. And actually a little wider and a little more remote from the edge on the full round. Okay. And that's it. Tidy up the drawing a bit. Whoa. Made that selection a little wide. There we go. Okay. And now you can see the two of them and how starkly different the reflective effect is over the matte. I would say that this one became a little too advanced, too stripy, as did this one. The rest of them I'm quite happy with. And even the two that are overly stripy are not terrible. Okay? They're acceptable. Alright, thanks so much for watching.